Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is an introduction that I'm doing because I was originally going to cover more in this video. This video is just going to be about Trump and Trump sucking, right? Like his disastrous interview, self-incriminating interview, and just more than that, just punking himself and making all you Trumpers look like complete fools. He just made you guys look like fools, and all of it, right, on Fox News and another story from Chris Christie we're going to get to in a moment. But I was going to cover the stuff I'm doing with the ads and YouTube ads. So many people sent me, I had more than enough truther channels and prepper channels and things people sent me. Some spiritual channels, and I'll keep everybody posted on that. But I had a revelation about YouTube, and I'll make a video probably later today, and then I'll make it public tomorrow on this channel, on my day off from this channel. Just because this Trump thing went for so long. And I just found out that Hunter Biden has pled guilty or is going to plead guilty to 2 breaking tax laws. And he's made a deal on a gun charge with federal prosecutors. So I don't know if he's going to do jail time or what. And that would be a huge story, which I'll cover either tomorrow or in 2 days on this channel. And that would be a big story. And I like talking about Hunter Biden like he's a great character in the show. But Trump so punked himself and so embarrassed his followers that that's going to dominate this, this episode. It's the only thing I'm going to cover here. So I say some other things throughout the video about doing other, talk about other things, and that's not going to happen, right? Because I spent over an hour on Fishboy and his debacle of an interview. All right, so let's begin here. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. So yesterday was a very hectic, busy day for me here because of I posted a new video on my Gratefullness meditation channel. And then I asked people for truther channels for the ads that I'm running. I'm going to get into all that in a moment because I had a revelation about YouTube. This thing with running the ads on YouTube has, brought some information to my attention, some paradigm shifting beliefs and things, which I want to get into in a moment. But I had this epic comment that somebody left, a long comment from, a Trump person. A Trump person claims they're not a Trump person, the worst kind. Right? And I wanted to get to that comment yesterday on my other channel, but I barely got that video done on time. And then I saw this yesterday morning, so I decided that I would start the video with this town hall with this guy, Chris Christie, and Anderson Cooper. It starts with a Trump story. And then this morning, Lawrence O'Donnell, as gleeful as Trump has incriminated himself and just destroyed his own argument on Fox News, a la Alec Baldwin. And I'll get into that. And I'll read the Trump comment. Then I'll get into the YouTube stuff, which is all kind of epic and I think is interesting. Sometimes it's a process of things I'm going through in my, my life outside of YouTube, like my farming stuff or interactions with other people or things that are going on, that are somehow important to realizing things that I'm seeing in the show, so to speak. What I call the show. So it starts off here with Chris Christie and Anderson Cooper.
Town hall continues. One of the things you wrote about in your book was a moment that I thought was interesting. You got COVID after doing debate prep with the former president in 2020.
So why does Chris Christie have a town hall? Like, I don't know what he's polling at, but it's probably like 1 or 2%. He has no chance of becoming president. Chris Christie will never be president of the United States. I don't think he's even popular in New York, New Jersey area. He has zero chance. He has zero backing. His only purpose is that he is a former Trump close friend. Like, he is somebody that has been with Trump and, long before Trump was president, they've had a relationship, right? And this is part of what I was saying earlier, that Trump burns everybody. Like, he just doesn't have long-term relationships with people. People are useful to him, and then he throws them away. in a way that, like, there's lots of people who do that, but Trump does it in a way that's, like on steroids. And, Rudy Giuliani, like, they were really close. They were, they did a video where Rudy Giuliani was wearing a dress, right? They were just, together as, like close friends, I would say, whatever that means to Trump. And he's burned him, right? Trump stiffed him, didn't pay him. And now Rudy's lost his law license. I mean, anybody who comes in contact with Trump is like, suffers hard times, right? But let's go into this thing here.
You were in intensive care. A priest had actually put oil on you, said prayers over you. You thought you might die. Mm-hmm. President Trump, who was also hospitalized at the same time, called you while you were in the hospital room. Do you remember what he said to you?
This expression right there, right? And so, of course, he remembers. When you have COVID and you almost die, and you're in the intensive care unit in the hospital, and the president calls you, you're going to remember, right? Especially if you write it in your book, and this is the moment your relationship changed forever.
Yeah.
He said, "Are you going to say you got it from me?"
Right. Yeah, to be fair, he first asked me how I was feeling. And then he said to me, "So, Chris, you going to tell them you got it from me?" I said, "Well, Mr. President, I don't know who I got it from. There were 6 of us in that room for debate prep, and 5 of us got it." So I said, "Well, I don't know who patient 0 was, but..."
What did it say to you?
Well, finish the story, and then I understood. And he said, "Oh, no, I know you could know, but you're not going to say it was me, are you?" And I said, "Well, why would I say that, sir?" I said, "I don't know who it is." And he said, "Okay, well, good luck with everything, and I'll talk to you later." And he got off the phone. And that was the last time I heard from him during the 7 days of intensive care. The end of the story.
Okay, so it gets worse. And I totally believe this story, as much of it's part of the show, right? Like, I don't like Chris Christie. I would have said that I liked Trump so much better than I like Chris Christie up until very recently. In terms of, I don't know if liking is, the whole, even as just a character in the show or whatever it is, right? But my positive feelings towards Chris Christie are not there. There's something about the guy I don't like. Like, he's somebody that I've never liked, right? There's somebody just, whatever it is. You have people in the that are on TV, where famous people, actors, politicians, whatever it is, that they just rub you the wrong way. And Chris Christie's one of those people. I don't like his voice. There's something just, like if he was going to be cast in a TV show, he'd be like a minor villain. Like, he wouldn't be a positive person in a TV show or a movie, but he wouldn't be a heavyweight villain. He's just kind of he'd be like a lightweight villain. And there's just something about the guy that is, for me, unlikable. But I believe this story because it's consistent with everything we know about Trump. So Chris Christie is helping Trump to prepare for a debate with Joe Biden. This is in the 2020 election. So this is very recently. Chris Christie stuck with Trump through the whole his whole presidency. He ran against Trump. He was one of the candidates that ran against him in 2016. And still, they were close. Like, Trump said positive things about him, even though they were opponents. And, they remained friends. And Trump trusted him enough to help him prepare for a debate with Joe Biden, right? And they go and they have this debate prep, and there's 6 people in the room, and 5 of them get COVID. And Trump's first concern about him is that this guy's intensive care, he might die, is he doesn't say he got it from Trump, which is, completely consistent with Trump's narcissism and his pettiness and his just being like a little spoiled rich boy. But it gets worse.
Is that he got out of the hospital before I did. He went back on the campaign trail. 2 reporters who were on Air Force One with him on his first trip called me and said, "Look, we're not supposed to tell you this because it's off the record, but we're going to tell you because we're so appalled by it." He came back to the press cabin today and off the record and said to us that you gave him COVID. Now, since you're the person who showed symptoms last among the 5, we think that's kind of illogical, that it would be you, but you need to know he's blaming you.
So Trump being Trump didn't want to be the guy who gave everybody COVID. And this is just consistent with his selfish personality. But, this is a low for even him. And again, I don't like Chris Christie. I mean, it sounds totally believable to me. I think most people kind of know this about Trump. This is the kind of person he is, except for the diehard Trumpers, who I'm going to get into in a bit. It's going to be kind of more savage than even usual. So, I'm going to go through it when I read this person's comment. So Trump first called him and said, please don't blame me, right? I'm going to make sure you don't blame me because, that'd be bad. And then he goes and blames Christie. For whatever reason, there's 5 people in the room, 6 people in the room, so you don't know. And, somebody could have had it beforehand, whatever it is, right? You guys, they all could have had it beforehand. They just coincidentally were in the room, right, together with other people.
So he called me to make sure I wouldn't blame him. And when I said I wouldn't because I had no basis to know who it was, he then blamed me. And then the even more interesting thing is Mark Meadows came out with his book a couple years later and said that on the first morning of debate prep that we did before that Tuesday debate, it was a Saturday morning, that President Trump had tested positive that morning for COVID and never told any of us.
So that's pretty savage, right? And I believe that story because that's totally Trump. Chris Christie was helping Trump prepare for the debate, and then shortly thereafter, Chris Christie came out against Trump. Because who wouldn't? That's just beyond narcissistic and selfish, and there's no reason for it. Chris Christie was helping Trump. Trump often panics, right? So Trump had COVID, and if the story got out that he had COVID and he unsafely infected other people, and one of them almost died, right? And I remember Chris Christie was in the hospital and almost died from it. And he obviously gave it to him. Or that's how everyone would see it, because Trump tested positive and then went in and had close contact with 5 other people, and they, almost all of them get COVID. He's given it to them irresponsibly, and then, instead of owning it like Trump, never does, he deflects. He asks he gets Chris Christie not to say it's him, even though it was him, and then he tries to blame Chris Christie, who did nothing to him, right? Throws him completely under the bus and destroys their relationship, right? Whatever, Chris Christie has taken a hit for backing Trump because Trump, all of those things. And now he's taking hits because he's turning on Trump. He's screwed himself both times by his positions. And that's what Trump does to people. Trump is Typhoid Mary. He infects people with his negative energy. Everybody who's in contact with Trump, there was that Rachel Maddow reading out, and I did a video on this, 3 videos ago. All these people who are close to Trump who have been indicted or in jail or whatever. I mean, it's just he's, part of it's that everyone's going after Trump, but part of it is that that's how he treats people. People, there's vendors. I told this story a couple of different times, that I was living near Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, and there was a Republican barber who had Fox News on all day that cut my hair. He was definitely a right-leaning person, he was a Republican, and he was telling me that Trump has a Trump Tower in Vegas, that he had talked to a number of vendors. Barbers just talk to people, right? This guy was, fairly socially a lot of stories. And he said when Trump was running for president, so this is in 2016, that he knew all these vendors, people who worked for Trump, construction guys, people who sold whatever they did to the, office supplies, whatever it is. These people had all been screwed over by Trump. Trump's organization would delay payments or not pay people at all. They would just say, all right, sue us, whatever, knowing that ordinary vendors didn't have the money and time for expensive lawsuits and things, and Trump would just screw them over. Like there's poor people say, oh, we're going to do well because we're dealing with a billionaire. We're dealing with a rich man and, it's a good business deal. But rich people are often obsessed with money. Trump loved the art of the deal, and he screwed people over. And there's all these stories. You can search them. Like Trump has a history of screwing over construction workers or companies or, all these companies he has deals with. He ends up renegotiating a lower payment after agreeing to a higher one, and the people take it because they just don't want to go through the lawsuit process. Trump's just a horrible person, right? And that same day yesterday, I saw his niece marry Trump. I've always disliked her as well, but a video came out, and I watched a little bit of it, and she was telling a story where he was such a little brat, like he always was a little punk, and I guess her dad was his older brother or something, and he was being teasing one of the other kids and being just a nightmare to the family. And her dad dumped a bowl of mashed potatoes on his head. And Trump to this day is still sensitive about it, right? So it's like he's just surrounded by negative energy. Trump is. But let's go to this Lawrence O'Donnell thing.
Donald J. Trump testified in his own defense tonight on Fox. We will show you that testimony in a moment. It includes statements that can and will be held against him in court.
So I have another video from this clown, this guy who is, the hammer guy, who is a complete tool and obsessed with Trump, right? But Trump just screwed himself here. This is being covered all over the place. This guy is gleeful. I don't think Trump is going to go to jail because they're using Trump. We'll see what happens. I think Trump might be president again. We'll see how it all plays out.
The defense Donald Trump offered tonight, which once again may be more of a confession than a defense, comes one day after his last Secretary of Defense said that Donald Trump cannot be trusted with government secrets ever again. And it comes one day after Donald Trump's last Senate-confirmed Attorney General said this.
This was a case that entirely of his own making. He had no right to those documents. The government tried for over a year quietly and with respect to get them back, which was essential that they do. And he jerked them around. And he had no legal basis for keeping them. But beyond that, when he faced his subpoena, he didn't raise any legal arguments. He engaged in a course of deceitful conduct, according to the indictment, that was a clear crime if those allegations are true, and was outrageous.
So he's very happy, right? And Bill Barr had backed Trump a number of times during his presidency. He's Trump's guy, right? He's one of Trump's guys. He was. And now, like so many other people, like everybody, eventually turns on him. Everybody turns on Trump because Trump turns on them. It happened after the big event in 2001. I got something also about that today, a weird connection. The January thing that happened and the whole stuff that led up to it. And Trump went out and called for this, basically riot, this protest of people, to go and let them hear it on Capitol Hill. And he walked right into what has been disastrous for all of us in terms of censorship, in terms of all of it. And all the right-wing truthers, all those people, all the Republicans, all the Trumpers, all the QBs, it's been disaster. It's been a complete disaster. And then he sold those people out. He threw them under the bus, even though he was the one to get them. He doesn't stand up for anybody. He doesn't back anybody. He's not, you can't trust him to have your back. He's a watch your six, right? He is weak, for a guy who, the military people are pro-Trump and all these. He's not a guy that you can trust. He's not loyal. He's not a guy that'll, go down with you or whatever it is in terms of, stand with you when you're in having problems. As soon as you're having problems, Trump bails on you. Problems that he's created, even more so. He's just not one of those people. He's disloyal.
A clear crime, says Donald Trump's last Attorney General. One of our first guests tonight, Bradley Moss, tweeted this question for Donald Trump today. If you gave the order to declassify all the records and your orders have the force of law, even if only done in your own mind, why would your lawyers need clearances to see the records in the indictment? Why aren't you contesting that order? In his interview tonight,
look at how happy he is. Like, this is Christmas for this loser, right? This Trump-obsessed loser is like Christmas Day. That's how bad Trump's interview on Fox was, which I'll show you in a second.
Trump repeatedly said that all of the documents that he took with him when he left the presidency were declassified. Said that repeatedly. We are now going to show some of defendant Trump's testimony tonight. But don't worry, you won't have to watch it alone. Joining us now.
Okay, let's get into it here.
Simple question Donald Trump was asked tonight about the evidence in the case against him.
Why did you have this very sensitive national security defense documents, like the war plans for a strike on Iran?
So like every other president, I take things out. And in my case, I took it out pretty much in a hurry, but people packed it up and we left. And I had clothing in there. I will go through those.
Wait, what? You had clothing in there? You packed classified documents with clothing. Now, all you Trumpers, all you right-wing patriots, all you, like whatever it is, you Hillary Clinton haters because of what she did with the classified documents on a server. And all the people like me and everybody, all of us who mocked Joe Biden for storing classified documents in his garage. You packed clothing with classified documents, right? Like, I don't care. I don't have any reverence for classified documents. There's too many freaking secrets. All the intelligence community stuff. It's just secrets and secrets upon secrets. Everything's all secrets. There should be no secrets, right? Everything should just be transparent. Secrets are for criminals. I mean, it's just, sort of liars, these things. But we live in a world where there's just, vicious people, venomous people, and all these things, and secrets upon secrets, every government. So I don't care, right? But he's saying he packed their documents up with clothing. Like, this is what he just said. And all you Trumpers, this should be like, oh my God, this guy's a dope. Because he's doing what Alec Baldwin did when he did that interview with George Stephanopoulos. Remember that? When Alex Jones incriminated himself, I showed you a lawyer who talked about how Alec Baldwin incriminated himself over the shooting by, not just in terms of like criminal charges, but civil charges. He was deposing himself. And when you give an interview and you're like Trump, who just makes things up and he's a BSer, right? Trump's a total bull. Trump's a total bull booper, right? Like, he just makes things up. He's like one of those people. And he just, weaves a new storyline and just changes things, sort of a pathological liar for these things. And his defense is, we packed classified documents with clothing. That's what he's doing with his story here, to try to make himself seem innocent, right? Like, that's just makes him sound stupid and irresponsible. What, you didn't have suitcases? You didn't have some other place to pack clothing. You had to throw them in with the classified documents, but it gets worse.
Pretty much in a hurry, but people packed it up and we left. And I had clothing in there. I will go through those boxes. I have to go through those boxes. I take out personal things. As far as the levels and all, everything was declassified because I had the right to declassify.
They went to DOJ to subpoena you to get them
which
back.
they've never done before.
So what that guy said before was that the court has ordered that his lawyers have to be given clearance to read the documents to defend Trump. And Trump's lawyers haven't filed something against that because the documents have been declassified. So if they've been declassified, his lawyers will say, no, we don't need clearance because these documents are declassified. But they haven't been declassified. Trump's never declassified them. And his lawyers aren't fighting that, right? So that's, so that his whole defense is crumbled by just that alone. I'm in the editing process, and I want to make that clear, what this guy was saying to Trump's argument, because it destroys his argument and destroys his defense. If his defense is he declassified all those documents, then they should move to dismiss the whole case, because the whole case is predicated on them being classified. And so if his defense is, it doesn't matter what I think or you think or his supporters think, right? This is going to go before whatever, grand jury or whatever it is, right? Whoever decides this, a jury of his peers or whoever it is, the court case, it's going to be litigated. And they could move to dismiss and say, wait, these are classified documents that have been declassified. Then the whole case would disappear. But they're not doing that. Trump's lawyers aren't moving to saying that these are declassified. That's not even being debated in the court. But Trump is debating it on Fox News. He's using it as a reason why he's not guilty. And so it's established these are classified documents that he did not declassify. And so it's already lost, right? And so he's just trying to do this for the court of public opinion, saying they're declassified, but he's not doing anything in court. He did the same thing with Rudy Giuliani after the election. They were making all these charges that they later got sued for that they didn't bring up in court. They were saying one thing to the public to try to convince you that it was one way, but when it came time to present it to the court, they didn't present it. The arguments they were making in public, which is a huge problem. So you should just shut up, right? Because it doesn't matter what you think or I think. It matters what the jury thinks. It matters what the people are going to decide whether you're guilty or not, right? And that's going to be litigated by lawyers. And you're undermining your own case because every time you talk, you're deposing yourself. You're just using things that are going to be brought up in court. They're going to show these videos of him saying these things, changing his story, right? It's going to make him look bad. He's already looks bad, and now he's bringing in that he packed the classified documents that he declassified with personal articles of clothing, and then he's going to later say he didn't even know what he had. Like he just packed all these things up. He wasn't sure. Some of the things he didn't even want, and he had them. He was going to give them back, but he just had to find them. Like all those things, he's an absolute disaster, right?
Right. And why not just hand them over then?
Because I had boxes. I want to go through the boxes and get all my personal things out. I don't want to hand that over to Nara yet. And I was very busy, as you've sort of seen.
Yeah, but according to the indictment, you then tell this aide to move to other locations after telling your lawyers to say you'd fully complied with the subpoena when you hadn't.
But before I send boxes over, I have to take all of my things out. These boxes were interspersed with all sorts of things, golf shirts, clothing, pants, shoes. There were many things. I would...
Like they're all laughing. This is like Glee Day for them. You packed classified documents, and who cares more about classified documents than Republicans, than Republican voters? I mean, in terms of their hatred for Hillary Clinton, and he's packed golf shoes. You put golf shoes in with classified documents. You had golf gear in the same place, and you had people who may or may not have classified, have clearance. High levels of clearance. You had them pack your boxes with classified documents interspersed with golf shirts and shoes. Like your defense is, I couldn't turn them over right away because I had to get my golf shoes out of the classified documents. What an absolute moron! Like he's just completely punked himself. Like what a tool! What a piece of boop! And all you Trumpers, like it's ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourselves. Like, well, you could say he's better than Joe Biden, all these things. This is your dope right here. I mean, he's turned himself, he's clowned himself, and like, he keeps on clowning himself. What was good about Trump now is bad about Trump. Like, all these things. Like, he's just going out there and winging it. He isn't talking to professional lawyers or, professional public speakers. He's not, like, thinking his way through this. They didn't prep his story. They prep everything. That's what sucked about politicians. They carefully choose their words. They hone their statement. He shouldn't be given this interview. Why are you giving this interview? Your Trump supporters are going to stand behind you no matter what. You're not going to convince anybody else by saying you packed golf shoes. I mean, anybody but a diehard Trumper would be like, holy boop. Like, what are you just saying? You had golf shirts and golf shoes and with classified documents? What are you, a complete moron? And it took you that long to get them out? Like, this is what? Almost like years, over a year after he, like you didn't go golfing. Like, they didn't end up, like, unpacking your clothing you didn't remove the clothing from the classified documents within a year of your time? Like, what kind of slob are you, right? Were they even washed? Do golf shoes even clean, right? I mean, like, they're just, like, look at their expressions. They can't believe this is his story. Like, they can't believe the stupidity here.
Say much more, not that I know of, but everything was declassified.
Andrew Weissman, what did you...
So look at him, how gleeful he is. You made this guy's day. This piece of boop, this piece of boop, right? Like the hammer guy. You made the hammer guy happy. Like he's in his bliss. This is maybe the best day of his life with golf shirts. That's how stupid it is. That's how counterproductive it is. I'm in the editing process, and I went outside and I did the beginning of this video, and I was talking to my wife about it. We were talking about it, and then I went outside, did some work, and had breakfast, and these thoughts came to me that I want to share here. Now, Trump's saying that his golf shoes were more important, that he didn't turn those over. Like, it's like a little kid excuse. It's like a kid saying his dog ate his homework. Some kid who's embarrassed, who, screwed off and didn't do his homework, and then just makes up some ridiculous lie that the teacher can see through, right? Like it's pathetic, right? It gets rid of this idea of Trump being a criminal mastermind. Like he's just a dope. Like he's not playing 5D chess or 20D chess or whatever people are saying. He's stupid. Like he's a dope. And he's losing. I mean, he's like JoJo Magoo losing it. Where you would think that would be a quality excuse. And he's cut himself off from advisors and people who have his best interest at heart. Handlers who let him do this interview. Because what he's saying here, right-wing people were flipped out over what Hillary Clinton did with classified material. And when Joe Magoo had classified documents in his garage and things like that. And so his supporters are more concerned about classified documents than liberals are. Liberals, want less secrets. They're less, into the military. They're less into the patriotic stuff, the intelligence community, things like this. They're less, likely to follow the letter of the law, right? They're, less, rule-based in this sense. They have their rules about different types of things that they're into, but not this, right? They're rulesy about things that left-leaning people care about, the environment or other things like that. But Trump, one of my viewers sent me this clip of this woman calling him Donald Trump. And she's upset about COVID lockdowns and having to be inside with her M&F and kids. My wife really loved the video. So we've been calling him Trump for the last couple of days. So Donald Trump, he, and now it's kind of like interesting because of this, golf revelation shirts. But, his supporters care about classified documents. And for him to imply that his golf shirts and his golf shoes and his personal belongings, which shouldn't be mixed in with classified material, and the people packing that stuff up shouldn't be involved with classified documents. And he just threw all this stuff together. Some of it he didn't know what it was. I mean, he was that disorganized that he, wasn't aware of what he took or what he didn't take. And he dropped them in boxes in his house, classified documents mixed with personal belongings, which is a breach of protocol. Like he's just making it worse on himself. Huffington Post had a big front page thing that said golf shirts, so they're covering it all over the place. Golf shoes. After all the Hillary stuff, all the lock her up stuff, that he disrespected classified documents. Again, I don't care about it, but his supporters sure do. All the lock her up and stuff with Hillary. That he disrespected the classified documents, threw them in boxes together with personal belongings, and now he's saying that his personal belongings are more important than the classified documents, that he wanted to unpack them before turning them over. And it wasn't that hard. You go in there and you grab your stuff. He's like, I'm too busy to do that. It was over a year. He's also implying that he has golf shirts and golf shoes that he doesn't need. Like, most people, this is how elitist he is, right? He's got multiple golf courses, private golf courses that he owns, including the one at Mar-a-Lago. He's got all these clubs. He's got a private plane. He has a toilet seat, I think, on the plane, a couple of places. He has gold toilet seats, 14-karat gold toilet seats. Like, he's got a crap in gold. Like, that's how gaudy he is. Like, he's just gaudy, like, nouveau riche kind of stuff, even though he's from a long line of money. Like, he has this, like, almost like a criminal level of bling, right? And the guy has all this golf stuff and private planes and, where he lives and his lifestyle. Even though, people identify, he thinks he's someone like you, and he's not. He's always been part of the club. And, he doesn't need to get those golf shoes immediately out because he's got, hundreds of pairs. So he could just turn all that stuff over and they could throw it out at the, they don't need, right? Like, he could turn those documents to the place where they archive them, and they could just get rid of the stuff that's his or put it in a bag and give it back to him. Like, it's a lame excuse, an excuse a child would give. I wanted to turn them over, but I didn't know what they were. We just packed them up in a hurry, and I had personal belongings like my golf stuff. I golf all the time because I have all these private courses. I'm an average man. Like, it's just the worst possible excuse. Like, I suppose you could make up something, like even more catastrophic. Like, it's basically saying that, well, I didn't get a chance to turn them over to Putin or, like something like that. But in terms of like just lame lying excuses, it makes him elitist, makes him sound elitist, makes him sound entitled, makes him sound irresponsible and sloppy and, unconcerned with. The guy just should never have classified documents or material again because of the way they're claiming to handle it. It's just a disaster. It's an excuse that says that classified documents were mishandled by him as president and then when he was leaving. That he didn't take care of them. He didn't, have some sort of responsible mechanism of organization. It's like when you deal with like a firearm, you have to remember that it's a deadly weapon. You have to take it with, it's something that's important. It's a responsibility. It should stress you out. Like, he felt no stress about the way he was handling classified materials. And it was just strewn about the place and, disorganized. And he threw it all into boxes. Other people who probably didn't have clearance threw them into boxes with his personal belongings. Somehow his golf shoes and golf shirts were in close proximity to these classified documents at the White House, and that he didn't care about them when he made such a big deal about Hillary mishandling them and Joe Biden when, that came up. When they do, it's a problem. Like I always say this, it's behavior, right? It's a behavior either against it in all forms, not just when your enemies do it. And then the entitlement, which we, talks about, like, all of his entitlement and like making things up about declassifying them, having conflicting stories, right? Just, bad stuff. And then the entitlement to bring golf into it and his golf shirts, that be more like all that stuff. People are worried about a collapsing economy and, they're stressing out. You're talking about golf and golf shoes. Like my golf shoes were in there, it makes him sound elite, all the things. Like he checks all the boxes here. And it's not believable. It's not really an excuse. It's the kind of thing you admitting to breaking the law. It's just like, I don't know. I just, I was irresponsible with the things, and I packed them in with a bunch of my stuff. I didn't want them to get my stuff. So it's just didn't take it seriously. Just all these things. It's the worst of the worst. He's admitting to committing crimes and then giving the worst possible excuse. And, it was obstinate and difficult to deal with. And, all these things that make Trump suck, right? They're all wrapped into this one lame, childish, like little boy caught doing something naughty and then just makes up a bunch of lies that everybody can see through. I mean, he's just a disaster. And how much he's embarrassing you Trumpers. Like, if you know, you're never going to see it if you don't see it now. You should have already saw it. You know, this guy's a disaster. He's a cancer. He's a toxic person. He's going to, you know, he just takes everything down with him. If he's elected president again, it's because they want to destroy America, and they're going to cripple America in ways, and they're going to blame it all on Trump and Trump supporters and the truth community because they need somebody to blame it on, and that's who it's going to be.
He's talking to about that document.
According to the indictment, you were here at Bedminster on July 21st, 2021, after you're no longer president, and you were recorded saying that you had a document detailing a plan of attack on another country that was prepared by the U.S. military for you when you were president. The Iran attack plan. You remember that?
Ready?
You were recorded.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know. This is specifically a quote. You're quoted on the recording saying the document was secret, adding that you could have declassified it while you were president, but, quote, now I can't. You know this is still secret, highly confidential. And the indictment cites the recording and the testimony from people in the room saying you showed it to people there that day. So you say on this, on tape,
it says just the opposite.
that you can't declassify it, so why have it?
When I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify it.
And that's what you said. You didn't declassify it.
I said no. I said I couldn't.
Could have
but that wasn't a document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about
a couple golf shirts, some underwear, you know, jockstrap, like.
Iran and other things, and it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify.
So why did you talk about declassifying it? I mean, just like you should be talking here, because this can be used against you. You're trying yourself on Fox News, who's not your friend, for what, right? You're already doing well in the polls. You should let your lawyers do your talking. Like, you should not say a word. This guy should not be allowed to say a word by his attorneys. Nobody can handle him. He doesn't listen to anybody. He's, you know, going senile in his own way. You know, he's not Jojo Magoo yet, but he's just a complete buffoon. He should not be saying anything. He's just making it worse, right? You know, these guys are really happy because you're making it worse. I'll be shocked if Trump ends up in jail. I'll be shocked. You know, I think he might even, you know, be president again. I don't know. Like, I don't have any idea how this is going to play out, but I just don't think they're going to disappear Trump because of this stuff. He's just great for them, right? Every time Trump speaks, you lose something. Like, you lose something. The beastly system grabs more because of Trump's stupidity. Trump's actions, Trump's behavior, Trump's, you know, at this point, they've learned to use Trump as a weapon against you to take more of your stuff, especially you right-wing people, you Trumpers. You become more and more like, you know, idiotified by your support of him. You become more viewed as worthless, stupid people who shouldn't have the right to vote because they're following this guy, right? You can say the same thing about Joe Biden supporters, but that's not what's being focused on because the focus is always on Trump. And so every person who's a Trumper, like you're wounding yourself on a social level and every other way by supporting somebody that this is this stupid, right? And this is not just stupid, but selfish, and he's just a total buffoon. So look at how happy they're. Just like, oh my God, this is great. Like, you know, this is happiness for these clowns, right? He's really happy. These guys are, you know, these ghouls, right? So that's Trump there. All right, there's one more segment here. This guy.
He was holding on to those documents.
There are 31 documents listed. Nuclear capabilities of foreign countries, related to military capabilities of foreign countries, intelligence briefings on foreign countries. Why do you want to hold on to those documents after you're president?
I don't say I do.
You just didn't know what was in the boxes?
With NARA, giving them back. All of a sudden, we've got raided.
So you irresponsibly grabbed everything that was there including classified documents you didn't need, and you packed them with golf shirts and golf shoes and other things. You had people packing them up who weren't, that probably didn't have any sort of security clearance. And you were going to give them back, but you just didn't have time to separate them from your personal belongings. That's your defense. That's what you're going to say. And, all you Trumpers, like, oh, my God. Like, if there's a time to bail on this MNFer, it's now. Like this Chris Christie story and Trump incriminating himself, deposing himself on Fox News, it's time to bail on this MNFer. At least, if you're going to support Trump, do it in secret. Stop telling people you're a Trumper. Remove your bumper stickers, whatever it is, because you're getting embarrassed. He's embarrassing you right now. He is, he's making a fool of you. So I had this epic comment. Like, I've been hammering Trump, and, I got a little bit more dislikes, like a 3 to 4% more dislikes on my Trump video, just based on the title alone, right? That he's a cancer on, let me go read the full title here. But I had this video that was demonetized, so I really, didn't make any money off of it, right? It was like working for free, and it got 92.5 dislikes, and the majority of my videos get 92.5 likes, so 7.5 dislikes. The majority of my videos get about 2.4, 2.3 dislikes. I'm just looking at it now. I'm just looking at it now. Like I don't see. I expand my screen so I can better see things, because my laptop's kind of not far away, but 3 feet away from me when I do these videos. So I make my screen bigger, so I view YouTube at like 120%, especially when I'm reading comments. It's important, and so I don't see the likes or dislikes unless I scroll over on it. I don't really pay much attention to it. I did for this video because I want to see what percentage of my people, the name of the video is Trump is a Cancer on the Truth Community. And there was 3% extra dislikes, the people Trumpers. So, 3% of my audience. And that makes sense given the amount of comments, right? About 3% of the comments were, Trump fans, disgruntled Trump fans. And so I had this long comment. It took 3 screenshots to get it. And the person writes this. The first line is, earth-shattering take here. It's all Trump's fault. And I didn't say it was all Trump's fault. Like, why would I ever say that? Like, anybody watching my videos, I've talked about Trump as a puppet. I read that comment that he says over and over again. I mean, how many times have I read this comment from Trump? Let me see if I can find it here. I have it somewhere. Where he says, this is from Twitter, from a tweet that he posted post-election. This is December 9th, 2020. If somebody cheated in the election, which the Democrats did, why wouldn't the election immediately be overturned? How can a country be run like this? He was seen as a sitting president, right? It showed you how, hapless and hopeless the guy is, right? So the guy, that's Trump. Like, he's a puppet. Like, Joe Biden's a puppet. Like, they don't have real power. I mean, they have some, power, but not really. And so, I didn't say it was all Trump's fault, right? So this person is commenting just on the title of the video, right? They don't know, really my position here, what I say in the video. And they're going to write a epic comment here. Like, it's like multiple paragraphs. It's like 10 paragraphs long. Earth-shaking take here. It should be earth-shattering. It's all Trump's fault. I don't know what kind of man Trump really is. I never met him. So that's what it takes for you to read a person. Again, these are characters, and they have a public persona. But we all know what kind of man Trump is. You don't have enough information. I knew what kind of man Trump was when he was on The Apprentice. He's one of those people that's not hard to read because he's so pompous, so confident in his, how great he is, that he doesn't try to hide his narcissism. Lots of people are, everyone's selfish and narcissistic to whatever degree, based in our civilization or what we are as people right now. And Trump is one of the most narcissistic people, right? Because he's not hiding it, which is something I liked about Trump. Like, he's so transparent. Like, you know exactly what kind of person he is. He turns on all his friends. He's contentious. He's stubborn. He doesn't learn. He doesn't adjust. He never takes responsibility. It's never his fault. Never, owns anything. And, it's some of that was entertaining, and now it's just become not, boring, but just redundant, and it's just, he just needs to go away. Like, he's the guy who doesn't get a hint, right? Take the hint. And his stubborn supporters, like this person, who are willfully ignorant. I don't know what kind of man Trump really is. I never met him. I do know he's just a man, right? Anyone thought he was going to become president without any political experience and defeat a worldwide cabal of families who have been plotting over generations in 4 years needs to stop watching so many movies. Like, what are you talking about there? We know, like, you're saying that I and my viewers don't know that Trump is a pawn. Like, what are you talking about? Like, again, when people comment on the title of the video and it triggers a bunch of wrong thinking on their part. Regardless of Trump's true intentions, his cancerous personality remains the only thing that scared the elite. Search Hillary saying, "We'll hang." He didn't scare the elite. Trump is part of the club, right? Part of the problem here is that with all politicians, at some point they market and target stupid people. And there's lots of stupid people. Low consciousness people is a better way of saying it. Because, there are people who don't have high IQs that are, smart in their way, right? And they can see people for who they are, simple people who can see people who they are, right? For who they are, who they really are. But politicians target stupid people and selfish people because, you want people to put themselves above the system. You want people to worry more about their own personal needs than the system's needs, right? The collective. In the Flim Flam Man, there's a great, I talked about Trump being the Flim Flam Man, but George C. Scott, great movie. And there's a guy, his name was Slim Pickens. I've showed the scene before when talking about Trump. And George C. Scott and his shill, his young trainee, his apprentice, all find a wallet at the same time. In fact, the shill, the kid, and Slim Pickens find the wallet. It's a wallet that George C. Scott has planted, right? And in the wallet, there's a check, a big check, right? Which the guy ends up with. It's a worthless check. And he ends up giving them money, and he's going to keep the money for the check, right? And, the guy goes around the corner, Slim Pickens, and he thinks he's just screwed these other two guys out of a lot of money, right? And so he disappears around the corner, and George C. Scott shows the kid, and they show Slim Pickens running away with what he thinks is a windfall profit. And George C. Scott says to the kid, "It's the greed that always gets him." This guy thought he was screwing the Flim Flam Man over, and he ended up losing because of his own greed. And this is voters. This is the typical person who votes out of self-interest. And, some of the self-interest might be you hate the left, and you want to believe that the left is the problem. You want to believe that, the Democrats and, whatever it is are they're the cancer, and Trump is your hero. And because you don't want to admit that you're wrong, that this is a left-right paradigm, and that, it's just a binary system given to you to make you feel like you're part of the decision-making process, which you're not. that you're part of self-government, which you're not. There's no self-government, maybe on a local level to some extent, but even then, right? And the people who get elected want you to think that they have your best interests at heart, and that at the very least they'll consider your needs. And they may if it suits them. It may if they have some personal investment in the decision, but it has nothing to do with you. Politicians and, people in power, they don't care about you. It's just so at some point your desires and their desires can meet together and seem like they're acting on your behalf. And so the job of a politician is to go after low consciousness people that'll never realize this, this idea of the paradigm. And that's what Trump is doing. At some point, Trump went stupid. He went after the Cubies. Cubies are the worst cancerous people in the truth community. They're the worst of the worst. And it's because they're following an intelligence operative, a psyop, which is Q, which is this is being put out by clearly being put out by the intelligence community, and they're willing to sell their judicial rights and endorse Guantanamo-style military tribunals that violate your constitutional rights to due process, something that patriots have been fighting for, so-called patriots, are now willing to throw that under the bus. Because I was a little kid, you could see through these politicians. They weren't people that you wanted to hang with. They weren't people that you respected. You picked the best of the worst. It's like when the Super Bowl came around, and it was two teams you had no investment in, two teams that you might even disliked, and you picked for some reason you picked one team or the other, even though you're not rooting for those teams, you didn't like those teams. They might have beat your favorite team or teams, right? Like the least two teams that you wanted to see in the Super Bowl, but you picked one just because you had to, because you wanted to watch the Super Bowl, and you wanted to have some investment in the outcome, and you might bet on it or whatever, right? But it's just because they're the only two teams available, and that's how most people feel about politicians. Very seldomly do they like a politician. Do they feel connected to one? And this billionaire punk, spoiled little rich boy, this selfish, spoiled little rich boy, or this pompous little, whiny little, fish boy, is somebody, for whatever reason, a lot of people ended up liking and identifying with. Trump was a great character on The Apprentice show, but, he was deeply flawed in his selfishness and his, all of it. And that's what made him a good character. Like, it was interesting because he was, like I said, transparent. But almost all of us know that the system's rigged. This person's saying that Trump exposed the rigged nature of the system. No, he didn't. Like, he did for people who were low consciousness, but the rest of us already knew this. Like this person's commenting like, he's got some wonderful insight. You're late to the party, bro. That's why things are worse, because nobody did anything. They realized they're untouchable. I think they were even surprised with how the 2020 thing worked. I think it was a test run to see how far they could push, and they realized nobody pushing back at all. They've been doing this for years, and I've said this many years ago. Like, this person is trying to tell me this, like that they realized this under Trump, when I've been talking about this for years here. And certainly if they could understand what I was saying in the video, and I don't think they could, they're limited. Partly their own selfishness and narcissism, and these people who can't hear other things. They just can't hear it because it has to come from the greatness is that is their their ego, their psyche. And so we all knew this, right? We didn't need Trump to expose this thing. And we all knew that but I've said this over and over again, until there's real food shortages or there's no electricity or no internet, people are not going to rise up. Like, despite the bogus riots that we had, the BLM riots and the Antifa stuff, and then the post-election stuff with Trump, those aren't real riots, right? They're contrived, they're forced out there But there isn't going to be anything until, real outrage, until people who are spending 8 or 9 hours a day on the internet, young people particularly, people who are, even after COVID when they shut everything down and people weren't allowed to go outside, there was no pushback. Like there was almost no pushback. Because as long as people have full bellies and distractions, which they get on the internet, they're set. Like Americans are set. Doesn't matter what kind of immoral thing happens. I mean, we found out Joe Biden droned 8 innocent children in Afghanistan. Wasn't even a story. They can conduct wars. They can do whatever, they want. And people have been completely pacified. There's no outrage. I saw this. There's various ways that this has been played out. 2014, 15 with the stuff when they changed the idea of gender. We went through, the election process and whatever. You could see it. That people just don't care. All the people that hated Trump and like the world was going to end with Trump, they were outraged, but they didn't do anything about it, right? The news media that was so shocked that Trump was elected because they were let in on the plan, racial mad outcry and these things. People will just accept it, right? They'll lick their wounds, and they're just like when you see cheating in football, when there's a blown call or there's something that looks like it's staged or rigged, and people still will watch football the next year, even though they kind of realize that it's not an organic, fair, there's a predetermined outcome in all these things. And so that's how people are. Like people have been pacified. We all knew this, right? It didn't take Trump to expose that it's been pacified. They can do whatever they want because people have full bellies and they have good lifestyles that they don't want to give up, right? When we're 100% dependent on this system. I've been saying this for years. Like this person's like coming in with some bombshell revelation here. But then they go on from there. Let me see the thing here. It was a test run to see how far they could push, and they realized nobody is pushing back at all. So you don't want to know why things are so bad. Trump has nothing to do with it. I didn't say Trump was responsible for the system in my video, which you guys all know, because that would be stupid, and I don't believe that. But the person is just commenting on my title, or they're just inability to understand what I'm saying because they're just not that smart, right? Not that what I'm putting out here is rocket science, but there's just so many dumb people. What I was saying Trump is a cancer on is the truth community because of the censorship that he's brought, and then just the people here, the Trumpers that are here, the Cubies, that feel emboldened and empowered by him and are just a nightmare to deal with. And I've said this for years with the Cubies, and Trump was, there was a part of their belief system, but Trump hadn't acknowledged them, but now he's fully embracing them, the Q mentality. And it's brought a level of stupid that's been exhibited by this commenter into the truth community. So when I said Trump's a cancer on the truth community, this person heard that and said, in the title, they couldn't even understand the title. They're commenting on the title, but the person's not able to understand the title. And so they said, so you want to know why things are so bad? Trump has nothing to do with it. Trump has given them what they wanted, just like Alex Jones gave them what they wanted in terms of the truth community. So they can create a profile and they can say that everyone who's against the official story is dangerous to the whole, so we have to suppress their ability for free speech in some ways or another because they're a danger to us all. And Trump has made that, the whole January thing, that event, everything that was played out. And now he's just out there being a buffoon. And every time he talks and embarrasses himself, he embarrasses his followers. When he says that he packed golf shoes with classified documents, he makes Trumpers look like idiots for backing this moron. He makes you look stupid. That's what was said about this, right? And it's so obvious to anybody watching my videos but this person, right? It's because we are all cowards who aren't willing to do anything that might actually inconvenience us, let alone give up our amazing lives. Well, it isn't that at all, Because if this person understood that the system is broken, or it is working the way it's supposed to, but it's a defunct debt-based system, that we can't fix it, right? Now, I knew this for a number of years. Like, I always knew there was something wrong with this system. I never really bought into the American lifestyle, the American belief, we're number one, all that stuff, as a young person. And I knew it as a, so-called truther. But it was only fairly recently that I, really knew it. When I could see that just no way to fix the system. It's just the deluge of, depravity in our system. And it's the moral breakdown, and it's going away from God's will. And, part of that's the debt-based system, but part of it's the pursuit of happiness, of pleasure, instead of doing what our soul intended us to do. Finding our godly purpose, finding our divine purpose. And it's the opposite of that. It rewards for being selfish, whiny, little narcissistic, sociopaths. It pulls out the worst in us, and not our soul, and not our divinity, and not our higher level. And it cultivates a selfishness and a weakness in people, and you can see it all around us. And so the system has to go. So this person's saying it's because we're all cowards and aren't willing to do anything that might actually inconvenience us, and let alone give up on our amazing lives. No, it's that we would have to just tank the system and learn to survive without it. We would say, oh my God, the system's hurting us in the future and the environment, and we just got to get rid of it now. And nobody's going to do that, including this commenter on the internet, right? Because you're not willing to give up these things. You just want to talk about it with words. Like, that's how everybody is. And we really don't have the power to do that. It'll tank on its own. It'll be destroyed on its own, and then we have to face what's left. The older we are, the harder it is. The younger generation is so weak, but there'll be some people. I don't think this is the end of the human race. Certainly, some people will survive, and it'll be whatever it is, right? I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's going to be a harsh adjustment. But you have to accept that the system can't be saved. And it's your hopium. Like, this person who says they don't really know Trump is really upset about something, right? My title of my video that says Trump's a cancer. And you are also a cancer as a Trumper. You backing him like you're part of the problem. Again, in terms of just disseminating information, we are under a lot of, the system itself wants to control everything and doesn't want the truth to come out. And the truth is poison to the system. It's kryptonite to the system. And so their position is clear. Trump gives them the power, gives them he's the catalyst and reason for them being able to suppress the truth. And then it's just saturated with stupid people now. The truth community has become unpleasant. The people who are looking at alternative narratives to the official story. It's not a community, it's a group of people who all realize we've been lied to for generations, and we've been indoctrinated, and now are claiming to seek the truth. But most people are too, can't handle the truth. This is a clear exhibit of this. It's because we are all cowards, aren't willing to do anything that might actually inconvenience us, let alone give up our amazing lives. The funny thing is that our cowardice will result in us getting locked up for false charges instead of getting locked up for actually doing something that would make the changes. No, there's no getting locked up because there's no changes to the system. You can't make a debt-based immoral system that goes against the natural flow and the divine will good. And so getting locked up would be stupid because, you want your lifestyle, you want the good things in the system. And to do that, you've ignored the bad things and the hurt it's caused other people on the bottom or in other countries that were robbing them of their resources, or the environment and animals and all these things. We don't want to give anything up because we're selfish, not because we don't want to do anything or cowardice. People don't want to give up what they have, their privileges, because it's, things we've come to depend on. And we've been warped in some way, right? And there's no alternative. There's no plan B. There's no alternative to this system. Like, we don't have the ability to live in any other way. We've become zoo animals, right? And then it says here, there's one more comment here. And so it says this. Let me blow this up here, make it bigger. It's unfair to expect Trump to sacrifice his wealth and freedom and family. Yes, I think his family has been threatened when we won't sacrifice ours. I don't even like the guy. This is a long comment for somebody who doesn't like Trump and defending him. But he's probably done more than all of us combined to help this country. And that includes his screw-ups and boops in the post-election, what he's done ever since. And now coming out and saying he packed classified documents up, people who didn't have clearance packed classified documents up with golf shirts and golf shoes. And they were declassified, but now, like, he's changes his story 6 different ways. He's, punking himself and clowning himself in these interviews when he just should shut up. Like, it's just, a guy who can't get out of his own way. That's Trump. And for whatever reason they made him president, it wasn't for the good that he was going to do. He's, responsible for them pushing their agenda through. That's what they've used Trump for. There's a reason why he's there. They could take him out. They could kill him. They could disappear him. They could throw him in jail. They can do any number of things with this guy, right? I mean, Trump's supporters, like Trump said, that he could shoot somebody in the face in Fifth Avenue and not lose any supporters because you're stupid, right? Like, that's, this guy is selfish. He doesn't care about you. He never cared about anybody but himself, even his family. He'll throw anybody under the bus. And he's kind of transparent and honest about it, and you refuse to see it. And for this person to say he's done more for the country, like, you're just delusional. Like, he's not, And now, everything about the guy, he just turns things, he's gone bankrupt twice. Like, he's a failure. Like, he's just somebody he's a toxic person. He's a cancer to the people in his lives, and that's now everybody. He's just a cancerous tumor on humanity. And, just his presence and who he represents, the selfishness and all the rest of it, the lying, the, never accepting responsibility. He's the worst that America has to offer, and people are still following him. And, like, that's just, embarrassing. All right. I want to move on to the next thing here. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. This is obviously over an hour already. And, I'm behind. I got to pick up my tire for my tractor. I want to do outdoor work. Beautiful day today. And I want to get some stuff done on this second video I want to make today. And I have to do something on the journey series. So I got a lot to do. That's basically what I'm saying. I just saw that Huffington Post changed the headline from Trump's golf shoes to Hunter Biden. So they're giving him cover, right? Hunter Biden is now admitting to criminal behavior. And they're doing this either to torpedo his father's campaign or to save his father's campaign. CNN was praising Joe Biden for standing by his son, even though it was politically a good time to bail on the relationship. But, this isn't about that, right? So they're either going to take Biden down with this, or they're covering Trump right now. Because Trump has just done something that has, you followers of Trump who, I don't know how you could be. Like, if you want to vote for him because you think he's horrible, but Joe Biden is worse, I don't know. Like, whatever, that's your choice. But to pretend he's a savior, but to pretend he's this guy that's going to make America great again, that's the problem. The delusion that goes with Trump, the whole QB stuff, the whole idea the system can be saved. I mean, it's just hard to bear. I get very few comments. Almost all the comments I get are people who agree with me. I get very few Trumpers anymore. The QBs have disappeared altogether, which is great. But, you still exist because Trump has got overwhelming approval. And I know there's a lot of stupid people out there, a lot of, just people without the ability for abstract thought. And that's, understandable. Biden has some support, right? People have actually voted for Joe Biden. So, That tells you all you need to know. There should be no voting really based in these guys being qualified leaders. But Trump embarrassing himself and, this whole thing with the documents, like him just doing this interview when he had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Because the arguments he's making here aren't going to hold up in court, and they're not holding up to public scrutiny. But then they dropped this Hunter Biden story on a day where Trumpers should be, the Trumpers are all going to be talking about Joe Biden today. Hunter Biden today, instead of confronting themselves on their choices here and their delusion about following this guy, right? They have Trump derangement syndrome too. They have the positive Trump derangement syndrome, and the media has the negative. But it is whatever it is. Like, it just devolving. Everything's breaking down. I covered this yesterday in my other channel about how, like, you don't have someone wrote a comment, there's no customer service anymore. There seems to be, people showing up for work are like, you're lucky I'm showing up to their bosses. I mean, that's the attitude they're taking. It seems like, everyone's given up. I mean, like, things are bad out there, like, and they're bad on the show as well. I don't know why it makes me happy. It does. At least for now. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.